So we'll dedicate our session to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. I will like to pay my obeisances to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So we are on chapter 11, and the title of this chapter is Universal Form. It has 55 verses. I think so it is the longest in this Bhakti Yoga section, which has 55 verses. So this is further divided into 7 sections. So verse number 1 to 4 will be Arjuna's request to Krishna to show his universal. 5th to 8 will cover Lord Krishna will describe his universal form. He will give a description before he shows his universal form, like an orientation program. And from 9 to 14, Sanjay will describe Arjuna's vision of the universal form. So Sanjay has come again in this chapter and he will be describing what Arjuna is seeing to Dhritarashtra. 15 to 31, after seeing the universal form, what Arjuna experiences. So that will be mentioned. And 30 to 34, when he sees that form, Arjuna asks Krishna, "Who are you? What is this ferocious form? And what is your mission?" At that time, Krishna replies that I am time. And Arjuna, you have to become my instrument. I have come here to destroy everything, but everything will be destroyed because it is my will. But you have to become my instrument. Because Arjuna might think that if already everything is decided, pre-decided, then why should I fight in the war? But Krishna is saying, no, you have to become my instrument. Similarly, sometimes we may think that whatever God desires, it will happen. So why should we endeavor? No. Krishna wants us to endeavor, show our best effort, and then only by Krishna's grace, everything will come in place. So that way, Krishna asks Arjuna to become his instrument. And from 35 to 46, Arjuna now offers his prayers to the universal form. Like, I don't want to see this form. He glorifies, and then he says, I want to see a 400 form and 200 form. In that way, they are Arjuna's prayers from these verses. And now we might think, like, why this universal form chapter is coming in the Bhakti Yoga section. Similarly, we know that in the 10th chapter, opulences of God were displayed. And we discussed there that through opulences, it is like Vibhuti Yoga. Through opulences, when we know about greatness of Krishna, then we connect with Krishna. We try to connect with Krishna, and that is Vibhuti Yoga. Similarly, here Krishna is displaying his universal form. Why? Because he knows that when people come to know about his greatness, that this is one of the Virat Roop of Krishna, then in future, if somebody tries to show him, pose him as God, then people can ask him that, can you show the universal form? So that way he want to like make it firm that yes, he is the supreme, he is the absolute, and he is the only one who can display such a universal form. Nobody else can. So that way, through this, what happens? Any form of Krishna, when you want to see, whether it is this universal form, whether it is two-handed Shyam Sundar form, or any other form of Krishna, in the end, it will be discussed in this chapter also that pure bhakti is essential. Until and unless we surrender to Krishna or we do bhakti, devotional service, it's not possible to see any form of Krishna, whether it is universal or some other form. Because here we know that Krishna didn't show his universal form to anybody. He showed it to Arjuna, who was his pure devotee. And that's why Krishna gave him a divine vision by which he was able to see. No human being with his normal eyes, with our senses, we cannot perceive any form of Krishna. So ultimately, this chapter also culminates that pure bhakti is a prerequisite to see any form of Krishna. That's why it is in this Bhakti Yoga section.
Mataji,
Yes.
In Bhagavatam also, it is said by Sukadev Goswami that people who has the desires, who are not free from the material desires, for them the universal form, they have to meditate on the universal form, right?
Yes. There we have discussed that for neophytes, sometimes you have the
Neophytes.
neophyte devotees, the devotees, because they have to go from matter to spirit. They
Yes,
cannot think beyond matter at this time.
they have the
So at
bodily
least for
attachment still. That's
uh,
why the universal form is
uh,
great thing for them, correct? For the
yes.
true devotee, it is not, but yeah, okay.
Yes. That's why Vishwarup Upasaks are there. In the ninth chapter, we studied
Yeah.
about three types of Upasakas. So these neophyte, because they cannot think anything beyond matter, and that too also we discussed in 10th chapter also. Why Krishna is displaying his opulences? Because people cannot think.
Exactly.
They can see. They can think only that which they can see, which
Yeah.
they can perceive. So that's why Krishna is displaying his opulences in 10th chapter. Similarly,
To
here you
exhibit
will see
is to reveal his greatness.
to reveal his greatness
I
or
think the
his
people,
material manifestations.
yeah, I think people with bodily attachment gives a lot of importance to the material manifestation and the greatness of
So at
Bhagavan.
least when they come to know about the greatness of Krishna through his material manifestations, how he is pervading this universe, like how he enters everything, yet he is beyond everything. When they come to know, then finally there is chances from this neophyte stage they can go to an advanced stage. From material manifestation, they can go to spiritual revelation of Krishna. So that's why Krishna is revealing this form to and it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So here also we will see that Arjuna is requesting Krishna to show his universal not form not for himself, because he is already convinced that Krishna is supreme. He in 10.11 he said that Param Brahma Param Dhama Paramam Purusham Bhavan. So he has already glorified Krishna and accepted Krishna as absolute. But again, for the people in general, he want Krishna to show his universal form, to display his greatness. So that's why he's requesting. Uh, uh, okay, anything else?
No, Mataji. Thank you.
So, from verse 1 to 4, Arjuna requests Krishna to show his universal form. So, we know that this 10th chapter culminated with this verse, um, that what need of is there, Arjuna, for this detailed knowledge which Krishna gave about his opulences, that I am this, I am this, and this. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So this was the last verse of 10th chapter, in which Krishna told that just a spark of me, I'm pervading this entire universe. I enter this entire universe. I am the support of this entire universe. Like we have discussed so many verses in the chapter number 7, 8, 9, and 10, that Krishna is pervading everything. He is the cause of all causes, and he is a maintainer of everything. He is the supreme controller. As well as we have seen that yet he is doing everything, but yet he is aloof, and he is doing his pastimes in the Goloka Vrindavan. It has all been done by his through his energies. Like first he will expand in Mahavishnu form, and then further expansions, and all this will be carried out by those. He in his eternal 200 form, he is in the Goloka Vrindavan enjoying with his devotees. So now when Krishna says this, now in this chapter, uh, Arjuna wants to know like how you are pervading this. He wants to know about the how Krishna is maintaining this material universe. Okay, that form he want to see in which by which he is pervading this entire universe, and that's why in this chapter 11 chapter he will request Arjuna Krishna to show his form. So Arjuna wishes to see that all pervasive form which Krishna has described in 10.42, and in response, Krishna will now show his universal form, that is Vishwaroop, that majestic form, to Arjuna. Now, regarding this, Prabhupada says something in purport of this chapter's 8th verse. So, somebody will read this to understand what we are going to, why this universal form is being shown.
I'll read Mataji. Bhagavad Gita 11.8 purport. Devotee is not concerned with seeing the Vishwarupa, the universal form, but Arjuna wanted to see it to substantiate Krishna's statements so that in the future people could understand that Krishna not only theoretically or philosophically presented himself as the supreme, but actually presented himself as such to Arjuna. Arjuna must confirm this because Arjuna is the beginning of Parampara system. Those who are actually interested in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and who follow in the footsteps of Arjuna should understand that Krishna not only theoretically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually revealed himself as the Supreme. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, in this purport, Prabhupada has explained that what was the reason behind Arjuna wanted to see that universal form. Because Arjuna is a devotee, and devotees are never interested in seeing something like this. Why? The reason is because Vishwarup is so ferocious and so majestic and so extraordinary, and it is a form in which we cannot reciprocate with Krishna. Okay. Only the two-handed human-like form, devotees can have intimate, loving relationship with Krishna. It's not possible to have any relationship with the Vishwarupa form of Krishna. So that's why devotees are not concerned with this form. Okay. And Chaitanya Prabhu says that the gopis cannot perform a rasa dance with Vishwarupa form. They have to have a very beautiful Shama Sundar form to have that pastime. So similarly, so the reason behind Arjuna asking this is that in future, people will not say that oh, Krishna just boasted, he was saying that he's supreme, aham sarvasya prabhu, and so many verses he says in the few chapters before this, theoretically and philosophically he presented himself as supreme, that he's supreme controller and he's everything, he's the source of everything. No, he showed that universal form. And because Arjuna is the beginning of the parampara system, if he establishes something, then people in general will follow that. And so to substantiate this fact that Krishna is really supreme, he presented himself in this form, this universal form, so that it can be everything can be like he can be everything. Everybody can be convinced that yes, Krishna is the supreme, he is the Purushottam, he is the Param Purusha. So this chapter now starts with this verse. Will somebody recite this verse?
Mataji, one question. So theoretically presented means all the opulences that were described in the last chapter?
Yes,
Okay.
opulences plus Krishna has said in so many verses like 10.8 also aham sarvasya prabhu.
Sarvasya Prabhu. Yes,
Then he
yes.
has said mastani sarva bhutani, everything comes from me, and then I am the essence of everything. In the seventh chapter he said from 8 to 11. So and from like 9 chapter 7 to 19 also he says I am the father, I am the grandfather, I am everything. So he theoretically said so many things in the last few chapters. Okay, so now people may say that he just said this, he didn't do anything to show that he is great. So that's why Arjuna is requesting, okay, if you show your universal form, then in future, if somebody says that Krishna was not, if somebody says I am God, then we can ask him to show universal form. Can you show universal form? Then we will agree. Or if somebody says that Krishna was a normal human being, he was ordinary human being, that time also we can contradict. No, he showed his universal form. How he can be a ordinary human being? So for these two reasons, Krishna, Arjuna is requesting Krishna to come before him in that form.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you will like to recite this verse?
Yes, I will do. Hare Krishna. Mad anugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma sangnitam yat त्वयोक्तं वचस्तेन मोहयां vigato mamam. Arjuna's illusion dispelled. Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shambhu. So now Arjuna says, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me, you have anugrahaya, you have shown anugraha to me. So we know that the ninth chapter was called as Param Guhya Gyan, most confidential knowledge. Why? Because we have discussed there that Guhya Gyan is knowing about spirit and matter. Then more Guhya Gyan, more confidential knowledge is to know about devotional service. And in ninth chapter, we learned that most confidential knowledge is to know about pure devotional service. And in reference to that, we know that ninth and tenth chapter were mostly focusing on pure devotional service. And under that only, Krishna now gave his vibhuti. And in that chapter, beginning of 10th chapter also, he said that now I'm going to tell you what you have never known before. I'm going to give you more spiritual knowledge about my Ashwini. So now Krishna has already given all knowledge about these confidential spiritual subjects to Arjuna. And in 10.11, Arjuna has already accepted that you are Param Purusha, you are Param Brahma, you are Divyam, Adi, Devam, Ajam, Vibhum. All this he glorifies in 10.11. So he has accepted, and in 10th chapter also we know before Krishna displays his opulences there, Arjuna has asked him, and Prabhupada has explained he is asking him because on the behalf of common people who cannot think beyond matter. We have discussed this. Similarly, because Arjuna's illusion has totally been dispelled. Okay, and we will see that this Arjuna will say this again. In my moha has gone in 18th chapter also. When Arjuna, when Krishna will ask him that, have you understand everything? And in the end, Arjuna will say, yes. Now my illusion has gone. So here also, uh, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is totally clear about the supreme position of Krishna. Okay. But Prabhupada says again on the behalf of general people, and we have discussed the reason why he's asking to show his universal form. So going beyond, we have put some verses which were showing about the greatness of Krishna, that he is the maintainer, he is the supreme personality. We have studied in the 7th verse of 7th chapter, where Krishna says, there is no higher reality beyond me. There is no truth superior to me. Everything is resting on me. So he says this. So this is a proof from the previous chapter. Then in the 10.8 also he says, I am the source of all spiritual and material world, and everything is emanating from me. So those people who know will engage in my devotional service. Then other verse which were highlighting this was the second line of this verse, that although Krishna is present in his abode, he is all pervading. Everything is situated within him. And in 9.4 also he says, Mastani sarvabhutani na chaham tesh avasita. Everything is in me, but I am not in them. And in 9.5 say that because how I am not in them? Because I am not dependent on them. I'm aloof. I'm doing all this by my energies. I'm transcendental. So all has been managed by me, but still I'm not attached to it. And we have discussed this. So he's all pervading and everything is situated within him. And we have discussed that how he pervades everything. First he expands in Mahavishnu form. And the Mahavishnu is the super soul of the all universes. And then further expansion is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is the super soul of
One
each
universe.
universe, separate universe. And then Garbhodakshay Vishnu further expands into Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and he is the super soul in every living entity. So that way we can see, and every atom he is present as Kshirodakshay Vishnu. So he is all pervading. So we have discussed this in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th chapters repeatedly. And these are the verses which were about that Krishna is the essence of everything. Taste of water, light of sun, original fragrance of earth, heat and fire, life of all that lives. So all these are proof that Krishna is supreme, Krishna is great. And in this 9th chapter from 17 to 19, when we were discussing about Vishwarupa Upasakas, that time these verses came, that he is the father, and we discuss how he's the father, he's the mother, he's the seed giving father, he's the source, object of knowledge, goal, sustainer, master, everything, supreme abode, refuge. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything. And we discuss like everything is coming from him and everything goes back to him as a Mahavishnu at the time of Pralaya. So in the resting place, he gives us heat, rain, everything. So Krishna is everything. We have discussed this. So these are the few verses which are like highlighting that point. And the purport of this verse, um, Krishna, Prabhupada is saying, which we have discussed already, that now as far as Arjuna is concerned, he says that my illusion is over. This means that Arjuna no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but Arjuna is very enlightened and is very glad that he has such great friend as Krishna. Now he know about Krishna. He know who is Krishna. But now he's thinking that although he may accept Krishna as the source of everything, others may not accept him. So in order to establish Krishna's divinity for all, he is requesting Krishna to show his universal form. Okay, this is the reason which we have discussed. And in verse number 11.2, suddenly Arjuna like says Kamal Aksha. Kamal Aksha means you are lotus eyed one. So, O lotus eyed one, I am heard and from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, and have realized your inexhaustible glories. So he says, now Prabhupada says in the purport, like why Krishna, Arjuna is saying Krishna as a lotus eyed one here. Suddenly he is becoming very intimate because some names of Krishna are intimate names. Some names of Krishna are denoting his greatness, like Purushottama is denoting his greatness. But this lotus eyed one, Kamal Patraksha, is denoting very intimate relationship. Like for devotees, it is devotees when they want to describe the beauty of Krishna, they use such words in their prayers. So your eyes are like lotus petals. So Prabhupada is saying that because he is very glad, he is very ecstatic to know that he has got Krishna, a supreme, as his friend. So in that ecstasy, in the next verse, he is calling Krishna as Kamal Patraksha. And Chaitanya Prabhu says that immediately after this denotion, he will say him as Purushottama, and now Krishna will display his ferocious form to him. So that is such a contradiction. And he says that okay, you have told me about your appearance, disappearance of every living entity has depended on you. You're the source of all, you're the cause of all causes, and I've realized that your glories are inexhaustible, they are unlimited. Okay, so you are unlimited and I am limited, I have limited senses, um, and because you have revealed, you have been merciful upon me, you have, by your revelation, by your mercy, I have come to know about your inexhaustible glories to some extent. We have discussed that we cannot know about Krishna fully at ever, because it is unlimited. But Prabhupada says that inexhaustible glories about Krishna, one point, that this is great that Krishna is pervading everything, yet he is aloof from him. He is the creator of everything, but he is not attached to anything, and that is itself is his inexhaustible glories. This is something different about Krishna, which is not present in us. We get attached so easily to if we make something. So that is this. So Arjuna is again accepting this fact that I have realized your glories, but again because of for people in general, I'm asking you this. Um, then few verses which are saying that Krishna is the creator and destroyer, how he is responsible for appearance and disappearance of every living entity. In 7.6, we have said that all that is material, all that is spiritual, I am both the origin and the dissolution. So this was one of the verse proving this fact, which is told in 11.2. And this in 7.7, Krishna says that just as sunshine is spread all over the universe, the energy of the Lord is spread all over the creation, and everything is resting in that energy. I am all pervading through my energies, spiritual and material energies. And after that, we discussed this. So everything is situated in Krishna. They are not situated in him, since he's completely aloof and independent of everything. Krishna is not burdened by the fact of maintaining everything. No, he's relaxed and enjoying. Everything is done by his will, under his guidance. Maya Adekshana Prakriti. Everything is running under his direction. But yet, he has not to be every time present there to get anything done. And everything is done by his energy. So he's aloof and transcendental, independent of everything. So in 11.3, Arjuna desires to see the universal form. So somebody will recite this verse.
Yeah, I'll recite.
Okay.
Arjuna's desire to see universal form. Evam itad yathattatvam atmanam parameshwara drishtamicchami te rupam aishwaryam purushottama. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. 11.3 Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you, Rashika. Okay. So now, after saying Kamal Patraksha, he's saying Krishna is Parmeshwara. So, O greatest of all personalities, Parmeshwara, Purushottama, you are supreme God. Though I see you before me in your actual position as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. So, Krishna, Arjuna is having direct face to face darshan of Krishna in his Parth Sarthi form. How he has become charioteer of Arjuna. So, in that form, Arjuna is already seeing Krishna, and now he has realized inexhaustible glories of Krishna. And he says that you are in front of me as you have described yourself. I have no doubt about it. But still, I want to see that how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation, how you are maintaining this material universe. I want to see your that form. So here we have discussed that this was not Arjuna's desire because he's a devotee of Lord, but on behalf of people, we want to see that form. And there are two reasons which we've discussed before. So this is from the purport which we have discussed. Somebody can just read it.
Hare Krishna. The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna, but in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion for the future. For in the future, there would be so many imposters who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people, therefore, should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. Bhagavad Gita 13.3.
Thank you, Rami. Okay. So these are the reasons why Arjuna is asking to display his universal form. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada they discuss that um, we cannot see any form of Krishna. Okay, only by the grace of Krishna or the mercy of Krishna we can see any form of Krishna. Only by our mental speculations or by our yoga shaktis, we may say, I'll perform that yoga, this yoga, I will do that endeavor. All will be frustrated if we don't depend on Krishna's grace or devotee's grace. So that is discussed. So in 11.4, Arjuna makes a humble request. He says that if you think I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic powers. Again, he denotes Krishna through Yogeshwara. Then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. So now we see here words that what Arjuna is saying. If you think that I am able to behold, So he's requesting Krishna that if it is possible for you to show me that form, then please kindly show me. He is not demanding from Krishna. He is not ordering Krishna. Similarly, Prabhupada they used to say that if you like when we pray also, we have discussed this. When we pray something to God, it is not that we should not pray. But what we pray if you so desire, Krishna, then make this happen. Similarly, here Arjuna is saying, if you think that I can behold, I will be able to see this form, then kindly show me your universal form. And side by side, he is like calling Krishna as Yogeshwara. He's saying it's possible for you because you are master of all mystic power. It's possible for you, but if you think, you show it to me, otherwise not. So in this we discuss about humility and pride. He is not proud, because if people are proud, they will demand and they will complain. This should be done, but when we are humble, we will beg and then we'll wait for the response. Similarly, Arjuna is asking here Krishna humbly that if you think so, you show me your universal form, otherwise let it be. So we have discussed that it's not possible to see any form of Krishna by our mental speculations. So Arjuna knows his limitations, and that's why he knows that only by Krishna's grace, if Krishna wants to show his divinity, he will. If he wants to conceal his divinity, uh, he will not reveal himself. So it depends on Krishna. Sometimes Krishna, by his Yog Maya curtain, will conceal his divinity, like he used to do for his Gopa's friend or his mother and father or his gopis. There, if they come to know that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, then they will not play with him like his friends. His mother and father will not behave with him as his son. So that's why there he conceals his divinity. But at places when it becomes necessary to reveal his divinity, he reveals. But it is his will. And that's why, considering that fact, Arjuna here is humbly requesting Krishna to show his universal form. And we have discussed that any form of Krishna can be seen only through surrender and by performing devotional service unto Krishna. By our own endeavor and strength, we cannot see. Like we have given previously example of Surdas. Surdas was a pure devotee of Krishna and he didn't have any eyes, but still he could see form of Krishna. So that is the criteria of seeing any form of Krishna. It is in the purport, it is said that one can neither hear, understand, or perceive the Supreme Lord by the material senses. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord from the beginning, then one can see Lord by revelation. So any form of God is always revealed to us. We don't have any capacity to see it by our own. So after this Arjuna's request, now, from verse number 5 to 8, we will see that Krishna describes his universal form. He is not showing his universal form, but before showing his universal form, he gives a description of his universal form. Now, why he is describing this universal form before showing? There is a reason behind this. Uh, we know Krishna will say that never before anybody has seen this form. Okay. And if we are not acquainted with something and suddenly we see something extraordinary, we may get bewildered or we may get confused or something. So we have to have some orientation. So we can say that these verses from 5 to 8 are a type of orientation which Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Like for example, when we go in a new company or in a new school or something, an orientation program is held by the teachers or by the managers. Why? Because to get like people get oriented, what department is where, who is the chief. So they should have some orientation, otherwise they will be confused, they will not know what to do, where to go and everything. So similarly, before showing this Virat Rupa, Krishna wants to give a brief glimpse, of description, orientation to Arjuna about that form. So he says that, my dear Arjuna, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. He says, in this universal form, this is not one form. This is a form which is comprising of hundreds and thousands of various divine and multicolored form which are variegated. You will see so many varieties in single form of mind. Everything, my opulences, which I have discussed in the 10th chapter, you will be able to see in this single form of mind. Okay. And so in this verse also, Krishna says that in this form you will see different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all other demigods. And this has been discussed in detail in the 10th chapter when he says that I am among all the Rudras and among all the Adityas I am
Vishnu.
Vishnu and Sun, and among all these 12 Adityas. So this way, he has described so many vibhutis in the 10th chapter. And now he's saying that in the single form of mind, you can see all the Adityas, all the Vasus, all the Rudras in one form of mind. So we know that even to see Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, it's a great, like we cannot see them so easily. They are in itself, they are divine. Okay, they are not easily accessible. And here is the universal form which comprising of all these together put one in one form. So this is so vast. This is so wonderful form of mind. And nobody else has ever seen this or heard this before. So that's why if we have not seen anything before, and suddenly we come to know, then uh, in what situation we will be. But the same thing is there. So in this context, an example was given by Chaitanya Charbabu, that suppose somebody is blind by birth. Somebody is blind by birth and he has not seen anything of this material world. And suddenly his cause of blindness was treatable and he got treated and he got his eyes back after say maybe 15-20 years. He have never seen anything. But after he gets eyes, when he sees, he will not be able to make out human figures. He will not be able to perceive what colors are there. He will see varied colors mixing, and he will not be able to get acquainted with that so fast. It will take time for him to now analyze things, understand things. Okay, so and similarly, if Arjuna sees something which he has never seen before, then there can be some problem. So that's why Krishna is giving some description here for just giving him orientation. Then he says again that whatever you wish to see, you can see in this body of mine at once, in single form of mind. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may not want to see in the future. Everything moving and non-moving is here completely in one place. So again, he's saying that this universal form will show you everything at one place. We know that we are sitting in one place, we cannot see beyond the room, whatever is there. And even scientists, they cannot know what is going on in other parts of Brahmand universe. They don't have that capacity. And Arjuna, Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you sitting at one place, standing at one place, I can show you everything in this universe, what's going on at every place at one moment. And even what you want to see in future, that also I will see. You will see in this form. Everything moving and moving, non-moving, you will be able to perceive in this form of mind. So why here is said that Arjuna didn't ask Krishna to see that what is the future or something, but Krishna is present as super soul in Arjuna also. So he knows Arjuna's desire. He knows that Arjuna might be worried about the result of the war. So he might want to see what will happen to the result of this war. So in that universal form, later it will be described that Arjuna sees that all are entering in this universal form. Karna, Bhishma, Duryodhana, every body is entering in this universal form in the mouth, the fire of that universal form, except the Pandavas. So Krishna here says that you will be able to see the future of this war also in this form of mind. It's so vast. And about universal form, we have discussed, I think, so in Bhagavatam also, that what is this universal form? This universal form is a representation of Krishna in this cosmic manifestation. And this universal form, we have discussed that it is a temporary form. It is not eternal. It is temporary because as the material nature get manifested, this universal form is manifested. And when the material nature is unmanifested, this universal form also becomes unmanifested. So with the appearance and disappearance of material nature, this form gets manifested and manifested. So it's temporary. It's not eternal. And there is nothing like universal form in the spiritual one. It doesn't exist as other forms of Krishna exist. This form doesn't exist. Now, we have also discussed that this universal form is a bona fide imagination. Bona fide imagination means we might think that Arjuna might be imagining something like this universal form. No, Krishna himself is revealing this form to Arjuna, and that's why it becomes a bona fide imagination. It's not false. Okay, it is a representation of Krishna, how is maintaining this material universe. It shows that form. So it is temporary but not purely imaginary, because it has been revealed by Krishna on request of Arjuna. Now, when Krishna describes about this universal form to Arjuna, Arjuna now is waiting that I want to see the universal form. But Krishna says that you cannot see me with your these present eyes. I'm standing before you. Even if I show you my universal form, you will not be able to see with your these material human form like eyes. So, what I have to do? I have to give you divine eyes. Just behold my mystic opulence. So, Pashyame Yo Roop Aishwarya. This Krishna has told in
9.5.
10.5 also.
9.5.
Yoga Aishwarya, they is told.
9.5 month.
10.5. So 10.5, he has told that see my this opulences. So that way, there Krishna didn't show, he didn't display his opulences. He didn't literally was present as universal form, but by way of he was saying that you try to understand my opulences. So there was explanation, but here he is going to show that in the universal form, and for that Krishna is saying that this you cannot see by your normal these eyes. I have to give you divine eyes. Divine eyes here means Krishna will now give Arjuna divine vision. Okay. He will give him some access, some power by which he will be able to see this universal form. Everywhere present, everybody present there in the battlefield was not able to see that universal form, because that Divya Chakshu was given only to Arjuna to see. And he was given a special power or access so that he would be able to see that form. And for example, like we do not have access so much as demigods have. Demigods' access is more than us, and Krishna has complete access. Like in computer, if we have a parent control, then some of the files our kids cannot see. We give only few access to them. Okay, you can see this. Similarly, human beings have been given some access. But if parents want, they can remove that control, and they can then now the children can access to more files, more things. Similarly, Krishna is giving access to Arjuna in the same present body, that he can now see what nobody else can see through his divine eyes. So this is the last verse of today, and in the purport of this verse, we Prabhupada has again discussed that devotees who are situated in transcendental relationship with Krishna are attracted by loving features not by a godless display of opulence. Here, why Prabhupada is mentioning this godless display of opulences? Because here we know that Arjuna is requesting, Krishna is Supreme God, and he is displaying his universal form. So how come it can become godless display of opulences? It means, the meaning behind this is that devotees are not interested in seeing greatness of Krishna, this opulent form of Krishna, this universal form of Krishna. And we have discussed why. Because they cannot reciprocate with this universal form. So that's why those devotees who are situated in transcendental relationship with Krishna, they only want to see the Sham Sundar form of Krishna, the two-handed form, so that they can reciprocate. Like the playmates of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, the parents of Krishna, never want to see Krishna show his opulences. And that's why by his Yogamaya Shakti, he used to keep them covered. Because once he displayed to Yashoda Mai in his mouth all the universes and everything, and she was like shocked to see, and she fainted. So at times, when he wants, he just gives a glimpse of his divinity. But most of the time, when he wants to conceal, because he himself doesn't want to display the opulences. He knows that if I display my opulences, I will lose the taste, I will lose the rasa. He also wants to reciprocate as we want to reciprocate. That's why Krishna himself is not interested in displaying his opulences. Suppose there is a situation in which he is displaying his opulences. Oh, I'm so great in the spiritual world. Everybody should come and bow down before me. And everybody is paying respect to him in Ashwarya Bhava. Okay. But that will not give him that pleasure, that bliss, which he will receive when devotees serve him, interact with him. So, similarly, neither devotees, neither Krishna himself is ever interested in displaying opulences. But at times when it is necessary, then Krishna has to display, has to discuss his opulences and reveal his this form also. They are so immersed in pure love that they do not even know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the loving exchange, they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So, after Arjuna's request, and Krishna gives a brief description what he is going to see next. So, after this discussion, now Krishna will show his universal form, and there will be Arjuna's description, then Sanjay's description of about the universal form, then prayers, and this will follow next. So, anybody has any comments or questions? We can discuss. Okay, then. Land the session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.